Jose Ramirez suffered that knee contusion. Let's take a look at our projected starting lineup for the Cleveland Indians. Leonis Martin in center field, Jake Bauers in left, Carlos Santana at first, Hanley Ramirez cleanup at DH, Tyler Naquin. I can't stand that Tyler Naquin, Jim. Oh, I'm sorry, not too early.
Let him play a game.
Too early. Brad Miller, second baseman, just released by the Dodgers. Roberto Perez, all the way up to 7th. I think that tells you all you need to know about the rest of the lineup. Max Moroff, third base, and Eric Stamets at shortstop.
Perez didn't get to double figures in RBIs last year until September, and that's the starting catcher this year.
Well, you said he's the starting catcher, and then you're talking about how he was hitting. Let's make up your mind. Is he a bad starting catcher or a bad hitter?
He's a good backup catcher. I think is the best you could go with him.
Somebody told me, and he will remain nameless, that there was a situation when he came up with runners on first and second and 1 out. He was told not to swing or not to hit the ball because it'll be a double play. Strikeouts would be better.
They had to tell him that.
Yes.
Chances of that happening anyway, where I would say pretty high.
Oh, you don't have to tell him. Yeah. Well, however, I did some research. Brian in the back room did some research. All of these teams that we think about, these great Indians teams in the 90s and getting into the postseason, all had guys in their opening day lineup that you'd look at and say, how's that possible? Let's go back to 95. Of course, that's the Murderers Row had they won that. Kenny Lofton, Omar Vizquel batted second. Carlos Baerga was the second baseman. And then you had Jim Thome at third base, and Tony Pena was the actual catcher. I don't remember. It seems to me that Alomar must have been injured.
Yeah, he was injured a lot that year. I think he was coming off knee surgeries in the previous year.
All right, then we move on. We go to the 1997, the one we think of as coming that close. I thought of that run. I thought this lineup was not the best of all of them. Marquise Grissom, of course, was the center fielder instead of Lofton. And then you had Matt Williams, David Justice, Manny Ramirez. Franco moved over to second base on that. Kevin Mitchell was the DH, and Sandy Alomar was the catcher.
Julio was like 40 years old then playing second base.
Easily.
Yeah.
All right, now we go to 2007. Eric Wedge was the manager. Look at this. Trot Nixon was the right fielder. This is the team that Terry Francona's Red Sox won against. Casey Blake batted 5th in that lineup. David DeLucci. How about Josh Barfield and Andy Marte?
I think they brought Struble up that year, and he took over for Josh Barfield halfway through the year.
So I guess major league teams go through this. This is their World Series team from 2016. Opening day, Rajai Davis got the start, and Mike Napoli was the first baseman that day. And how about this? The bottom three: Marlon Byrd, Juan Uribe, and Colin Cowgill.
All I'll say about that is they haven't been to the World Series since they got rid of Colin Cowgill. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah, for what it's worth is not much. If we only had Cowgill on this team, I wouldn't have to pick on Naquin.
We need more Cowgill. Isn't that the phrase we should use?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's just the way it is. Some of it.
Yeah.
I mean, what started me thinking about it is can you believe 25 years at Jacobs Field, Progressive Field? Hard to believe.
Yeah, it is hard to believe.
Started in '94. Starting third baseman on opening day in Cleveland that day was Mark Lewis.
Well, that was because Randy Johnson pitched, and they didn't want Thome to have to stand in against Randy Johnson.
Stand in as opposed to bat?
Or bail out.
Yeah.